street food.
Do you guys remember the World's Fair? I remember learning about it in school as like inventions and whatnot. Well, that still happens every year. They call it the World Expo. It's like a chance for nations to get together, exchange culture. It's a lot about like national branding. It's hosted in a different country each year. People buy tickets, they wait in line for exhibits and that kind of thing. In 2010, it was hosted in Shanghai. And in China, that was a big deal. It was up and running for several months. A lot of people I know bought tickets and went. The reason I'm mentioning it is because off of the hype of that, Xi'an, the city where I live, in 2012 hosted the World Horticultural Expo. This is not as big a deal as the World's Fair Expo thing, but a lot of nations still participated. They get invited, and then they come, and they display their horticulture. It's essentially a huge international botanical garden. I went with some friends back in 2012 while all the nations were represented, and then after 2012, when the nations went home, Xi'an turned that area into a city park. And it's really nice. You can just go, hang out there, bring a picnic. I'm talking about flowers of many variations, tree-lined paths, statues, ponds, both modern and classic architecture design. One of Journey's classmates and her parents, who have become good friends of ours, invited us to the Expo Center for a picnic. It was a beautiful day. We don't get many like this in Xi'an. Good wind for flying kites. You could even see the mountains in the distance. There's a pretty lake with boats. At the time of our visit, there was even a dinosaur exhibit, so my kids were able to fulfill all of their dino jockey fantasies. If you visit the Expo Center, you should know there's a lot of walking involved. And there's not a lot of shade, so a cool day is better than like the heart of summer. My favorite part of the Expo Center is the regional park section. You can see the traditional landscape design from various provinces around China, and they usually come with a cultural tidbit. Like the Shanxi section, for example, has a giant statue of Emperor Qin, because he's one of the Shanxi OGs. Look at him, those giant hands. And of course, an homage to the terracotta warriors. There's little castles to explore, a mini bamboo forest to walk through, or you can just like lay in the grass, There's a fountain show. There's even some leftovers from the International Expo.
The New Zealand Garden. From the mountains to the sea land of the Silver Fen.
As far as parks go, this is a great one. It's big enough that you don't feel super crowded, and for China, that in itself is quite a feat. So our friends invited us to a meal at one of the park's restaurants. Now, it's not a street snack, but it is a very important Chinese meal. I'm talking about hot pot, Hoguo. Off the bat, I'm going to tell you, people got a lot of opinions about this. Chongqing, in Sichuan province, has the most famous hot pot. Theirs is very spicy, but other cities will tell you that theirs is actually better. Look, I'm not going to get into that. Here's what I'll say. Hot pot is about togetherness. You all get together around the same table, and you cook your food together in the same pot. To many of my Chinese friends, this is what family feels like. So hot pot is not only delicious, it's special. Personal confession, hot pot stresses me out. People be putting their food in the pot, and then they get distracted talking, and then that food overcooks. This distresses me in the soul. Then I take upon myself the burden of like monitoring the pot, and it's my inner control freak manifesting like a beast. So my kind of hot pot is the personal pot. You get your own pot, you get your own flavor, and you cook your own food. Is this still about togetherness? I don't know, but I feel much less stressed at a hot pot place like this. As the end of my side note. So you get all this food. Mushrooms, big slices, and also needle mushrooms. You get tofu. We like the big chunks of tofu, but we also like this tofu skin. They call it yo tofu pi. It's one of my favorite things in hot pot. Veggies like winter melon, lots of greens, sometimes different kinds of noodles. This place had some spinach noodles, which I love. And the meat is very important. In Shanxi, we usually do beef and lamb, and then some kind of meatballs. A lot of times we get fish balls, which I don't typically prefer, but in hot pot, they're awesome. Everything you cook takes on the flavor of your pot. Ashley loves spicy hot pot. I like the mushroom flavored one. My kids are not into hot pot. Journey ate fries. USA! Oh, and the sauce is a huge part of the experience. You get a base that's usually like sesame paste, and then you doctor it with stuff like soy sauce, chili oil, maybe a little cilantro. There's lots of other options. So you cook the food in the flavored pot, then dip it in the sauce. As the pot evaporates and the food absorbs the liquid, the fuyuan comes and adds more liquid to the pot. I have really come to love hot pot. My wife and I, if we're gonna splurge on a date, we'll typically go to like a Western place, like take a break from Chinese food. But one night we went out together, just the two of us, for hot pot, and that was like a new level of living in China for me. We didn't want Western food, we wanted hot pot, The Expo Center is not at the top of anyone's tourist list, okay? But if you like parks and you have the time, it's worth a visit. It's a great place to go and just be with your friends. I hope you enjoyed this episode about togetherness and botanicalness. Next week, Street Food will release its 100th episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you tell your friends, and I hope you'll come back on Friday to celebrate with us. Until then, y'all eat it on the street. Watch out for the parasites. Street Food.